Todd Phillips, who was 30 years old when he
FRAT
made
House. Oh, dyslexia for the win. That says Frat House. It could. We can't watch Tom Green and then go to a word like frat.
Todd Phillips was 30 years old when he made Old School, and he's the director. And before he directed Old School, and Old School was his, not Old School, Road Trip. Before he directed Road Trip, he made 3 documentaries. The first was Hated, Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies, which he directed as a student at NYU. And it was this underground hit about Gigi Allen. Do you know who Gigi Allen is?
A singer.
He was a singer and like sort of outsider artist / transgressive performance artist who he was ostensibly like a punk rock singer, but at his shows he would shit on stage and throw shit at the audience and eat shit and vomit on fans and stuff and beat them up. And
he ate shit, so I think he needs to vomit then. That he just sounds like he's committing assault.
Yeah, and he would get arrested and stuff. And it's clear like this guy was mentally ill, but it was let's weaponize your mental illness to say something about society. And Todd Phillips is like, this is the best. This is something that fucking people can't handle. And so,
is it good, this documentary?
It got some praise at the time. I have no idea if it's good. I don't want to watch it. This kind of thing has never impressed me. And all I see is like, you're exploiting a mentally ill man, but you know, they would say like, yeah, that's the point. Why are you don't be so fucking woke, you snowflake.
Oh,
if we exploit his mental illness.
Quite the conversation with an imaginary person. Yeah.
And while he, was promoting the movie, he wrote a letter to John Wayne Gacy in prison and asked if John Wayne Gacy would design a poster for the movie.
Stop it.
And he did.
Stop it. This is like, no, this is like Firefest being in Pablo Escobar's fucking island. That's what this is. It's like, just another little piece of John Wayne Gacy. This was graphic design his passion. It looks like shit.
I don't think this was not the John Wayne Gacy.
Well, this looks like shit.
They made replicas of the John Wayne Gacy posters and sold them and raised $10,000 for the movie. And Todd Phillips says John Wayne Gacy's basically an uncredited executive producer on the movie as a result. This convicted murderer who would later be executed.
Oh, people named Todd need to just jump off a fucking sofa. I don't want him to get hurt. Just a sofa.
Remember when I was writing a novel?
I remember.
And the doofus dipshit antagonistic character of the novel. I said it
was too on the nose.
Name is Todd. And you said, that's not believable.
Not believable.
And I'm like, but people are named Todd. There
Idiots
are people
are named
listening
Todd.
And watching right now named Todd, who you are really upsetting. But Lacey doesn't care who she upsets.
I'm kind of like
Joker.
Gigi.
You really are.
I'm the Gigi of this podcast. I'm going to shit right now and eat it.
Men named Todd, look out. Women who have small butts, look out. Lacey thinks you're worthless.
Yeah.
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 So Todd Phillips would go on to make a documentary called Frat House, which Lacey saw the thumbnail on our PowerPoint. And she said, Fart House.
We're talking about Tom Green.
Frat House. It's about frat culture, and it gets into the fucked up world of frats.
Great.
And, you know, he later made the movie Old School. So he's just very into this world. And the selling point of the documentary is like, this is going to examine hazing and the dark underbelly of frat housery. Whereas
sexual assault?
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
Look how dark. I mean, it looks like a horror poster.
I've always just assumed this is about like how he loves fucking frat guy. I mean, he's part of this movement called the Frat Pack, you know,
you don't get to name yourself those things. The Brat Pack didn't name themselves.
Right.
The Rat Pack did.
Right. But it seemed like this was like cool guy comedy. This era that Todd Phillips was a big part of.
You watched Old School recently, so I don't remember how glorified it is. I can't remember.
It's not really glorified. It is a different kind of movie than I thought. It was more benign. There was way less. I assumed Old School would just be filled with just people calling each other F slurs the whole time. Only one F slur, and it's at the beginning of the movie.
Hey.
So I'm like, yeah, hey, not that bad. Not that you can't have F slurs in your 2003 movie and it be good. It can. It was a more gentle movie than I was expecting.
Right.
All right, but he makes Frat House, and HBO picks up but never airs because of allegations that the footage in it is staged. Todd Phillips.
The only HBO documentary to be banned from broadcast, not because what you think.
That's what it says on the poster.
Yeah. It's because we did things that were illegal in a boring way.
Todd Phillips said in this interview with Howard Stern that I listened to that it was a misunderstanding that the people in the documentary signed consent forms or signed release forms, but they were drunk, and they said later that they wouldn't have signed them if they were sober.
Yeah, consent doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Anyway, this Frat House movie airs at Sundance and gets some buzz at Sundance. And Ivan Reitman, the producer, the director of Ghostbusters, lots of other movies, and a super producer who keeps coming up on this show. He's produced lots of movies that we talk about. Saw the movie, liked it, and he was a writer producer of Animal House, and Todd Phillips says the documentary was trying to be the documentary version of Animal House. So they hook up, and basically Reitman signs him to a deal to write and direct a feature film, and that feature film is Road Trip.
That's a crazy jump up. I don't know. It just feels like you skipped a couple levels.
I think that, but in the 90s, I mean, Sundance was that. Sundance was you get a movie that gets some buzz, and it's like a feeding frenzy. Like producers were going to Sundance to try to find the next Tarantino or the next Kevin Smith. Like anybody could be a potential.
Okay.
And it's only like this Road Trip was a small movie. It was produced for $16 million.
Oh, very small.
It was produced for DreamWorks, and this book that we've mentioned a lot during the summer of Spielberg, The Men Who Would Be King, about DreamWorks, has a little bit of a tidbit about this movie. The DreamWorks live action movie studio was kind of floundering. It had like the original vision for DreamWorks was like where artists can go and thrive, and they'd won some Oscars, but weren't necessarily having some big hits. So now their mantra is like, just make movies. Please just start making movies.
Netflix, whatever will come here.
What do you got?
Right.
We'll do it. So Jeffrey Katzenberg is like, he gets on the phone with his friend Ivan Reitman. He's like, what do you got? Road Trip? Good. Let's go.
Sounds fun. Sounds like a trip. Get in.
Exactly. Yes. $16 million. It's a go picture. They make the movie. It goes on to gross $120 million worldwide on $16 million budget. DreamWorks a few years later would produce Old School, which was another solid hit for the
I very much liked Old School.
Yeah. It was fun. I like Road Trip better. But Old School was like not like annoying in the way I thought it would be, but it also just wasn't funny enough. I felt like it might have gotten a lot of juice out of people just seeing Will Ferrell in a movie like 6 months ahead of his like movie star explosion. And it's not like he's just doing his Will Ferrell thing.
He's the Tom Green of the movie.
No, he's like more important than that and more involved.
Just say yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's the Tom Green of the movie. Now that you've seen Will Ferrell in so many movies, it doesn't seem as impressive.
I got you. He wasn't off the leash as much. It wasn't being like told to just do you, buddy.
Right. He's a little subdued. Yeah. He's a little more subdued in that movie.
And he plays like a beta, right? Like he doesn't have a domineering.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Usually is not what you do with Will Ferrell. His cockiness or his just confidence, self-assuredness is what brings out I think the funniest kind of characters that he does, and that includes Elf, because that Elf is very confident himself.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can't take someone that looks like Will Ferrell and make them someone who's not feeling themselves.
Like Road Trip, it also has the thing of its main character being the least interesting character with Luke Wilson in that movie.
Luke Wilson's always the most uninteresting lead character. Yeah.
So Phillips.
Your brother's more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, no one would disagree with that.
Your brother.
They're brothers.
Your brother.
They're brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. Phillips.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like he took Old School to a copy machine and went, do it again. By Starsky and Hutch, because he takes Ben Stiller, who I would say is definitely a counterpoint, an equal match to Will Ferrell at this time, I would say, and from the same spaces, and then you get Owen Wilson to me, and these are the leads of your next movie. I don't remember Starsky and Hutch being good.
I remember it got pretty good reviews. It was like, oh, this is actually kind of good because as an adaptation of a TV show that people make fun of.
Okay.
From cheesy TV show from the 70s.
I mean, it's got Snoop Dogg.
But this is his last hit for a little while. But the Frat Pack era of comedies, the Adam McKay, Will Ferrell collaborations have this sort of Todd Phillips and Adam McKay and Will Ferrell are like top of this mini movement in American comedies that then kind of gets supplanted by the Judd Apatow more slacker and weed oriented and nerdier comedy. And more like
thinking. There's more. I mean, Judd Apatow is like heavier in the heavy moments.
Yeah,
if he puts them.
And less just like joke. Like these movies are just joke factories. They're just joke delivery vessels. And then to this day, people complain like, why can't we have comedy movies that have jokes? Why is every comedy a drama with occasional jokes in it?
Right.
And I think that started with Apatow. Like, no, we're really going to say something in this movie, or this is really going to be about something. So I know all of that was like too oversimplified, and there's like an Apatow worked with Adam McKay and was involved in that era of movies. So it's super oversimplified. This is a broad overview of a movement of comedies. And then Todd Phillips makes School for Scoundrels with Billy Bob Thornton and John Heder, which is a flop. And then he directs The Hangover and does that on a low budget in exchange for points on the movie, and it becomes the biggest R-rated comedy of all time. He gets insanely wealthy as a result.
Dang.
Huge hit. What do you think of The Hangover?
Fucking loved it. It came out right when it's what Steven went to see.
Who?
Hi. It's what my ex-husband went to see on our bachelorette party nights. That's what they watched. Okay. So it came out at just the right time, right? Because the movie is about a guy who's going to get married the next day, and Steven was about to marry me the next week. So I don't know. It just came out and it just became, and then I watched it and I fucking loved it. I love anything that Bradley Cooper. I fucking loved him. I just was like, tell me more, Bradley Cooper. But I also just found it really funny.
All you gotta do is trust me.
All right, until A Star Was Born, and then I stopped fucking trusting him.
That was when a star died.
No, he was too good, and I can no longer watch. I can't look.
We watched fucking Leonard Bernstein. You liked that, and now you
also broke my heart. I'm not watching another fucking directed by him movie. He makes me cry for 20 minutes, and then he fucks me up for months. No, thank you, Bradley Cooper.
I saw The Hangover like a year afterward, and it was like when there's a comedy like that, and I think Bridesmaids was a similar thing, was so hyped up for me that when I saw it, I was like, it's fine. Bridesmaids I liked way more. I think The Hangover, I just so cannot relate, and I don't have to relate to characters in a movie, but a bachelor party is like so far away from my world that I don't know. I wanted to watch it again to prepare for this, but we ran out of time.
Bridesmaids I still watch once a year. I love that movie. So
now I'm not a bridesmaid, but I like Bridesmaids.
That's a stupid thing to say. Like, I can't relate. I mean, I think what you more are thinking is like, I wouldn't hang out with any of these people, and it is a hangout movie. Like, you kind of got to want to like be in their presence, where not every movie's like that. But so I just want to make sure you are put on the record. He doesn't have to relate to ever or understand the subject matter really well of the thing he's watching.
Yeah, it's like, I don't even get it. What are they doing? So then he makes Due Date, which is a flop. Or wait, is it? With Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis.
I don't remember it being good.
Hangover 2, Hangover 3, and then this movie War Dogs, which is a pretty big flop, like pretty high profile, big budget comedy with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller that didn't do well. And then Todd Phillips, who'd always been saying annoying shit in the press, like in 2010 when he he was talking about the writer strike of 2008, said it was a stupid strike and he doesn't think any union should exist, and he's been like a anti-union guy.
Always the sign of a great guy.
When Joker in 2019 was coming out, he started giving a lot of comments about how Hollywood had gone woke and he wasn't able to make the comedies that he used to love making anymore.
Just get funny in a different way, man. Maybe your humor was cheap.
Well, that's what Mark Maron said, because Mark Maron is in Joker for a scene, but he said on his show in response to Todd Phillips saying that he can't get his comedies made anymore because everybody's too offended by everything.
He just can't fucking switch gears.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's just rich of you, somebody like you saying that, like, because of course you could get a comedy made. You could do anything you want right now. But if audiences aren't responding to what you used to be selling,
right, then
you have to, it's your job as a comedian to adapt.
And Mark Maron is a great example of someone that he's very introspective, very reflective, very like open to being wrong and stuff. And it's the person like that who can be a comedian that lasts and lasts. And there's so many comedians who have turned, conservative or whatever, because they're so spicy about it. They feel so, the kinds of things they used to say just killed, was so funny because punching down is just the best, and they can't figure out how to do anything else, and so they're total shits about it. And it's not just men, there's women too, but it's sad to watch.
It's also not even true. Like Dave Chappelle is paid so much by Netflix and his specials do so well on Netflix, and he goes on his Netflix specials and says, I hate trans people, or whatever it is he says. And he's like, and they can't stop me from saying that because my specials will get too many views. So like, of course, if you're valuable to them, you can continue saying whatever you want. So like I tried to look more into this because I knew this is the stuff he said. And here's the quote. And he said it to Vanity Fair in 2019. Quote, go try to be funny nowadays with this woke culture. There were articles written about why comedies don't work anymore. I'll tell you why, because all the fucking funny guys are like, fuck this shit because I don't want to offend you. It's hard to argue with 30 million people on Twitter. You just can't do it, right? So you go, I'm out. And you know what? With all my comedies, I think that what comedies in general all have in common is they're irreverent. So I go, how do I do something irreverent but fuck comedy? Oh, I know. Let's take the comic movie universe and turn it on its head with this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you're going to really do something. What well-tread territory for you to whatever. Anyway, but watch Bottoms, watch Babes, watch any kind of comedy. I wish I just had come up with one more title. That Thelma. I want to see that got amazing reviews. It's about an old lady. Like just watch things that are being made now that are funny and they are just irreverent. They're just as gross, but they're inclusive and they're gross about things that you never really thought about before, and they can still be just as shocking. It's just now we're talking about things from perspectives of everyone else too, which by the way is fucking funny.
So Mark Maron said a similar thing. Did I write down what he said? It was so good. Yeah. Okay. So from Mark Maron in 2019, quote, bottom line is no one is saying you can't say things or do things. It's just that it's going to be received a certain way by certain people, and you're going to have to shoulder that. And if you're isolated or marginalized or pushed into a corner because of your point of view or what you have to say, yet you still have a crew of people that enjoy it, there you go. Those are your people. Enjoy your people, end quote. And he also said in that episode that the only thing that's really changed is an emphasis on not punching down. And like, to me, that's the idealized vision of comedy is to speak truth to power, is to punch up, to make powerful people feel uncomfortable, which is why I've always kind of been on Christopher Rock's side in the
Christopher Rock.
Yes, when Christopher Rock on Chris Rock's side, when he joked about Jada Pinkett Smith, like, yeah, he's an asshole, but like, let's keep in mind, he's making a joke about a super rich and powerful person. Mm-hmm. And he got punched for it. And it's like, yeah, him facing the consequence of his, but like one thing comedy should be used for, I think rich and powerful people are an appropriate target for being mocked a little bit. Friendly fire.
What he got was friendly fire. You want to make a joke, well, then you can also get slapped. But at the end of the day, you're both just rich people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't make a movie anymore. You don't want to have exposure to people that don't make you feel like you're on top and that you know things. Like if you're not totally sure what's funny, and you would need to like ask a younger person or ask a person of color or ask a person with a disability or whatever, and because you're not any of those things, it makes you uncomfortable, then you won't make a movie. And you're blocked, you're stuck. Then stay where you're stuck.
I also I guess I just wish I had more time to watch more of his movies, because I feel like Road Trip, if you put it out today, how many changes would you even have to make for it to be appropriate, whatever that means, in 2024?
I guess I would need to see more examples of other movies shooting for that age range now, because I don't think that I think comedies are like probably the least likely thing we are to watch, even though they're some of my favorite things to watch. It just, if I'm going to spend time on a movie, I'm trying to watch things that people are talking about more. So, I mean, I just don't even know that teen comedies come out they must, but I need to see what they're saying so I can say if these thoughts, I don't think you can make this movie.
You can't make this, but what about it would not work today?
Auctioning girls.
That's not something that happens like at frat houses. It's like, it seems pretty good natured in the movie.
Yeah, it totally is. But like it's all about the framing. All the gratuitous boobs, even though they explain it, because it's like, well, we wanted, there's your reason. It could just be we wanted more tits in this movie. So if we have Tom Green telling the story, we have a reason for all the tits. He even says as much. What else? I mean, it was a much more gentle movie than I thought. Again, maybe Todd Phillips has like a lighter hand than we remember. Obviously, you can't body shame that. And even as we were watching it, we're watching the sex scene and all the parts with the actress who has sex with the nerd. Why can't I think of his name?
DJ
Qualls. As soon as she was on camera, I'm like, she's fucking gorgeous. She's a model, and that prompted me to make you stop the movie and be like, I think we have made some advancements with like normal body expectations. I'm looking at the majority of these girls and going, that's not real. And then I see her and I'm like, I know whenever this movie was made, I was supposed to go, damn, but all I see is a fucking model. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's normal sized. So
I mean, she's larger
than we're used to seeing, but I'll bet she's pretty close to the average size. The average size person is 16.
But it's almost like, so when you see her, you don't even kind of realize it. So the movie has to do these over the top things, like have her sit on a swing and dip down into the ground.
But at that time, people did realize it. That's why the big joke is to show her underwear, which are, by the way, the size of my underwear. Like, I remember them being like this big. I remember them being joke like underwear. Yeah, like crazy. And then he opens it. I'm like, no, that's literally the ones she was wearing. They're just normal sized.
Yeah.
But it was a huge joke. And everyone on that bus goes, ew. Where if fucking Paul or whatever his name held up Beth's underwear, everyone would have been like, let me smell them.
I guess I do like though that like he doesn't care. He's like, whatever, it was, I had a great time, and then they all just move on.
That's true. So they don't harp on it.
All in all, it's kind of a nice experience. Other than the fat shaming, but even when I was a kid, I did find it hot. I found how like just sort of sexually aggressive she was. To be hot and charming. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that's a thing that, but like, is Todd Phillips going to say we lose the movie? The movie doesn't exist anymore if we can't have her be so fat. There is wait,
the movies that you wouldn't lose her, you'd have more people that look like her.
What I'm saying is, if he can't make that joke anymore,
right,
what's the point of even making the movie? When it's like that joke's whatever. We're harping upon this, but there's an actual critique you could make of Hollywood just not making comedies anymore, which they don't emphasize it. And that's because Hollywood has shifted. All the movie studios are all cogs in much larger companies whose business model is, we need to make the biggest movies possible to sell to the most people around the world possible. And comedy doesn't travel. Comedy's region specific. We can't sell The Hangover 3, or we could probably sell The Hangover 3. We can't sell Road Trip to people in Italy or to people in, to people in Japan or whatever. And as a result, comedies have kind of the business model doesn't have room for that kind of comedies anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's just blaming it on wokeness, which I do not think is the right.
You're conflating two things are happening at the same time, and you're not using your big boy brain. You just want to blame somebody, and all you really are saying is it's harder. It's harder for people. You're upset that you're not going to make a blockbuster where you could use your kind of humor and humor in general to make one back then. Now you're like a guy that we know. We expect a certain quality. We expect a certain outcome. And what you're actually saying is you're scared to have something that isn't a splash. That's all you're saying. You're not a risk taker anymore. That's okay. You're old. Be old.
And if there is like, I would be on his side if he's like, they don't want to make irreverent comedies anymore, but I don't think that's true. Although because they're just not making comedies anymore at the rate that they used to.
But think about it. The ones that we could even say right now, right? Or like, what is it? No Hard Feelings. Babes, Bottoms, and there's one more I can't think of. I haven't seen yet, but they are totally irreverent. I mean, especially Bottoms. I mean, it's all just about teenage sex, and it's fucking hilarious. So those still exist.
There was like, No Hard Feelings. There was a micro controversy of like, is this a movie about grooming? There was that with Licorice Pizza also, but like, it's like, okay, maybe you will face some of those questions and get over it. It's fine.
It's at the end of the day, was there more positives than negatives? And if there were, then people are going to like it.
And people No Hard Feelings is a very wonderful and sweet movie. And it is a movie about an inappropriate age relationship. Same with Licorice Pizza. Yeah. And we, the audience, can do a little critical thinking and say, you know what? If I'm 25, I shouldn't date a 15-year-old. I'm not going to take my life advice from the movies I watch. But he's not even saying that. He's putting it on woke culture, which I just don't think is the actual thing going on.
And he's acting like, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this new fad called comic book movies. Like, okay, calm down. No, that's you showing your cards. You do just want to make sure you're going to make your money back, and it's not going to be embarrassing for you.
He's always been a little bit of an edgelord, so I'll make a dark, twisted, fucked up Joker movie.
But there already is an R.
This one's so much more fucked up. You saw Joker with Joaquin Phoenix?
Oh, that's the one we're talking about?
Yeah, that's his. Yeah.
I thought he was just doing the new one.
Yeah, he did the first one, and
yeah, that one. I mean, I liked it.
But it was like a band saying like we can't make the music we want anymore, so we're going pop, and it's like almost watch me show you how easy this is. Watch me show you how easy it is to do a comic book movie and make money off of it. That's the sense I get.
All right, well, you did it, buddy.
Yeah. So that's Road Trip, and that's Todd Phillips, and now we'll talk about the movie.